Fox 8 News is New Orleans' most watched late news. Fox 8 Local First starts now.
I saw, I don't know if it was a dead body or something to my right with bullet shells and a cracked phone. Then when we were exiting the building, there was a trail of blood.
Terrified students hid in their classrooms today as police say 2 people opened fire inside a Colorado school. Good evening, I'm Kim Holden.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Authorities say today's shooting killed an 18-year-old student and injured 8 others at the STEM school Highlands Ranch near Denver.
Police arrested 2 students but have not released their names. 2 of the injured students are listed in serious condition. 2 have non-life-threatening injuries, and 1 is in good condition, and 3 have been released from the hospital. Some parents say they got frantic calls from their kids during the shooting.
My daughter called me, and she said, "Mommy, there's gunshots at the school." And I just stopped what I was doing, and I just ran into my car to get over here as quickly as I could.
Families cried and hugged as they were reunited outside of a nearby recreation center. Investigators have not said what they believe motivated the shooting.
New information tonight about the illegal dumping problem in one part of New Orleans.
After Fox 8 got involved, the city says it will limit access to a road littered with thousands of tires. Kimberly Kurth has this Fox 8 Defenders update.
Our view from the air uncovered a massive illegal dumping ground in New Orleans East. This is what Old Gentilly Road looks like. Thousands of tires line and even block the street. We contacted the city to find out what they're doing about this problem. A spokesperson says the city is aware of the large number of tires that have been illegally dumped here, and we're told a camera was recently installed in the area. Problem is, that camera was not in the location of the dumping site we've been reporting on. Tonight, we spoke with this auto repair shop owner in New Orleans. He says tire dumping is a huge problem.
You see a lot of tires in the east, but this is a problem all over the place. I live on the West Bank, and it seems like any dead-end street, it's open season to dump tires.
Chuck Hamback believes illegal dumping on Old Gentilly Road may be the result of some companies keeping the fees they charge customers to dispose of and process tires.
And because there's a processing fee, a lot of people, some small shops, or they're under the table, they'll take the tire fees in and they'll throw these tires out, just get rid of them, and they'll pocket the money. Myself, being an above-board shop, I have paperwork that I have to fill out every month to tell the DEQ how many tires I've sold, and they can come and spot check me anytime.
And this isn't just an eyesore, it's also causing problems for businesses. We were there when an 18-wheeler from Arkansas got stuck because of those tires blocking the road. Our crew spent over an hour helping the driver back out. And since Fox 8 started looking into this problem, the city now says it will limit access to this section of Old Gentilly Road until these tires can be removed.
If you try to go down the road, you can't. It's almost better that you can't go down the road, because now if they go to dump the tires, now they got to back out because they can't even turn around. So maybe it'll stop it. I don't know.
We spoke to Andy Hillary, who owns a trucking business on Old Gentilly Road. He's fed up with what he sees out here, so he contacted us for help.
Maybe you all can get something done.
And, you know, being a business owner, how does it affect your business?
Shuts me down. I mean, you know, you don't see many trucks running right here right now, because we're almost shut down with potholes and everything else.
The city also tells Fox 8 its Department of Sanitation has assessed the number of tires on Old Gentilly Road and determined that they cannot be removed until capacity restrictions at the city's only tire processor are lifted. Kimberly Kurth, Fox 8, Local First.
The city says until those capacity issues are lifted, the Department of Sanitation will continue to remove smaller piles of tires across the city. If you have a consumer issue you want us to address, call the Fox 8 Defenders, staffed with volunteers from the National Council of Jewish Women, the NCJW, or fill out our online complaint form at fox8live.com.
Two men police say are responsible for a string of armed robberies in April are now in jail and could face even more charges. Gretna police booked Richard Brown and Emil Washington for robbing 3 different restaurants in a 24-hour period and say they could be connected to other armed robberies across the area. In April, investigators released pictures of one man serving as a lookout while another man pulled a gun on a security guard at Waffle House in New Orleans East.
You know, with the help of crime cameras and the citizens, you know, it's results like this that we get and we hope to continue to get.
Gretna police initially questioned Brown, who denied involvement. When they interviewed his accomplice, Washington, police say he implicated both of them in all 3 robberies. New information tonight in the case of a young man who was shot over just $1.
We first introduced you to Daryl last night in our special report, Determined to Fight.
And we just like, really? $1? And we say no. Then he hops out with the gun and says, give me everything in your wallet. Give me everything in your pockets. And we just stopped and looked at each other and we just froze, just like, it wasn't really scared, just disbelief, like, it's just like really happening. Like, what? Next thing you know, he shot me. Of everything, I remember my grandmother's voice, her crying and saying, that's my baby, and everything.
I just questioned, why would you hurt him?
A bullet hit Daryl's spine, paralyzing him from the waist down, but he says he won't stop working toward recovery.
So I'd rather just be pushing myself to be better and happy. I mean, I had to deal with it at some point, so why not now?
Today, Daryl and his family learned that the person accused in the shooting is a 13-year-old boy who's also accused in another shooting just days before. Family members of both victims packed a courtroom today during a hearing for the teen. Natasha Robin has the exclusive story.
After spending more than a month by their loved one's side in the hospital, Dorothy White and her family packed juvenile court. They want to know more about the teen accused of shooting their loved one, Daryl, back in March in New Orleans East. The bullet entered Daryl's spine, paralyzing him from the waist down.
But you changed his life. This is a young man that he worked very hard. You know, he's very humble. He's very much loved by his teachers and principal. It's just changed everything.
Once in court, Daryl's family found out the shooting suspect is 13 years old.
Just disbelief. I have grandkids, or 12 and a half, you know, and you should be riding bikes and going to school and field trips and, you know, playing your video games. I just can't imagine.
In Daryl's case, 13-year-old Lionel Reynolds is charged with attempted second-degree murder, armed robbery, attempted armed robbery, and a juvenile in possession of a gun. Judge Candace Anderson told the court she was forced to appoint a guardian to the 13-year-old because she said his aunt, who he claimed to live with, refused to show up in court for her nephew.
I'm 21 years old, just made 21. I would never in my mind thought that a 13-year-old would do something like that to another person.
It turns out Reynolds faces even more charges.
The 13-year-old accused in Daryl's shooting is accused in another shooting as well. And that shooting unfolded just 3 days before Daryl was shot. That victim's family was here too.
It's just heartbreaking. It's sad that they don't have the proper guidance they need.
Reynolds is also charged with shooting Keena Esteen's 16-year-old son in the leg. He's doing better now, but the two victims' families met today for the first time, and Esteen learned that Daryl will have to live his life in a wheelchair.
It's just heartbreaking because that could have been my child. And when my baby got up this morning to get dressed, I said, "You look nice, son." And he fixed his tie and straightened and looked in the mirror and he said, "But for this occasion, Mama," I said, "you could be dead, though."
Esteen says juvenile crime is out of control. She points out no one even showed up for the 13-year-old suspect today, who she believes needs serious help.
It's just heartbreaking that these kids don't have nobody. And the juvenile system is just set up the way it is. You know, if he come out right now, he's guaranteed to take a life. because it's a pat on the hand. He needs to be incarcerated. Because if you let him out, he's coming back again. It showed it where he did a crime of a gun, and 3 days later he came back and he shot my grandson. I'm sorry, he do not need to be here. He needs to, you know, it's not an example, because what about us? What we have to go through.
Natasha Robin, Fox 8, Local First.
The 13-year-old is facing even more charges. He is set to go to trial in June for 3 other cases involving other crimes.
Hundreds of people gathered in Biloxi tonight to honor an officer shot and killed Sunday in the parking lot of the police station. Patrolman Robert McKithen's widow and several other family members attended the ceremony. McKithen was a 24-year veteran who planned to retire at the end of the year. Darian Atkinson was arrested in connection with the killing yesterday and is expected to go before a judge tomorrow morning.
A House committee wants to strip oversight of the state's medical marijuana program from the Department of Agriculture as frustrations grow over how long it's taking to make the drug available. Lawmakers passed rules for dispensing medical marijuana 4 years ago. During a heated hearing today, growers and Agriculture Commissioner Mike Strain traded accusations over what's causing the delays. The full House will now consider whether the Health Department should take control of oversight. A lawsuit over a school's decision to ban some students from walking in the graduation ceremony has been put on hold as the school tries to move it to federal court. 18-year-old Lyric Fernandez sued Sophie B. Wright after she was barred from the ceremony for participating in a water fight on senior prank day. Fernandez's attorney calls the efforts to move the lawsuit a stall tactic. The school said tonight the lawsuit should be moved to federal court since Fernandez claims her federal rights were violated.
Tonight, criticism of Louisiana's scholarship voucher system from the nation's top education official, who herself is a voucher supporter.
I would just say that the Louisiana program was not very well conceived. In fact, has encouraged some schools that probably would not have been parents' first choices if they'd been given a full range of choices.
Her words come as we've been looking into the system that allows poor families with kids in lower performing schools to move those students to private schools with taxpayers covering the tuition. For months, our team has analyzed records of the state scholarship system that paint a picture of little oversight and poor performance. Here's the cost of choice, reported by Fox 8 News. Kim Chatelaine of NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, and Jess Clark of WWNO Radio. This investigation is also done in partnership with Reveal from the Center for Investigative Reporting.
To me, every child in Louisiana, every child in America deserves a great education.
When politicians' words go unchecked,
this is making sure that every little boy, every little girl out here has a chance to go to a great school.
Political rhetoric,
and the program is incredibly successful,
can turn the factually incorrect
it's a program with better academic results
into reality.
Children have the opportunity to get a better education.
The Louisiana Scholarship Program pays private school tuition for nearly 7,000 lower-income students.
Thousands of children have the chance to get a great education.
And when former Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal kept praising the program's performance,
we've seen academic improvements over time.
The numbers show that's just not true. When Jindal declared,
the kids are doing better academically,
the facts show the same year as this speech, 60% of the schools graded in the scholarship program received a failing score.
We're setting up generations for failure.
And the trend continues. Last school year, 92% of the schools graded received a D or F. No school graded an A or B.
Bobby Jindal did not set up the Louisiana Scholarship Program for success. It set it up for low-performing schools to get subsidized and to stay open.
On the west bank of Jefferson Parish in West Wego, Our Lady of Prompt Succor has a failing score. This month, Destiny Hinton's son will finish second grade.
This is his last year.
Why?
Because the school itself is,
I don't like it.
Her son started here in kindergarten.
Why did you make the decision to move him to like this private school with a voucher program?
Because they were telling me it was a good school. And it would help him. Different people around.
She says the different environment didn't help him progress as a student.
He's not on a second grade level. And I'm like, well, I can do so much. When he comes to school, I mean, that's what you're there for, to teach him. So, I mean, it's like I do my part, and I expect y'all to do your part, too.
State records show 84% of the students enrolled at Our Lady of Prompt Succor in Jefferson Parish are on a voucher. Most students at this private school are funded with public money.
The voucher program is helping the schools maintain an enrollment that they probably would not have without that subsidy.
In fact, 67% of the children in the program attend schools where the majority of students receive vouchers. The state has essentially created a privately run, publicly subsidized school system. In Orleans Parish, St. Alphonsus, St. Benedict the Moor, and St. Leo the Great all have more than a 90% voucher enrollment.
Without the subsidy, many of these schools would likely shut down.
Oh, the schools would shut down without question.
For some schools, the voucher program brings millions in public money. St. Mary's Academy in New Orleans receives $2.5 million a year. Resurrection of Our Lord in New Orleans East, $2.1 million. Our Lady of Prompt Succor, nearly $1.7 million.
Do you think the majority of the schools in the program are good schools?
I think the majority of the schools in the program are effective for the families.
But are they good schools?
I can't determine that.
Former State Senator Ann Duplessis sponsored the bill to create the voucher program. Now she heads the pro-voucher Louisiana Federation for Children.
So you're fine with a private school having 100% or 90% of its students?
If they are effective for that child, for every 100 child, individual in that school, if it's effective, then absolutely.
What if the test scores don't show it?
Let's make sure we're testing right.
Duplessis says voucher schools are at a disadvantage. The state mostly bases those letter grades off the Louisiana Educational Assessment Program, or LEAP test. All voucher students must take it.
In many cases, traditional public schools are going to gear their day to helping kids pass the test. The voucher schools have curriculum, and it is not, their day isn't filled with, is this going to help them?
But we found several examples of voucher schools providing tutoring for students in advance of the LEAP test.
So you don't buy the argument that the public schools have this big advantage with the LEAP test?
I don't believe so, no.
Orleans Parish school leaders say the LEAP tests have changed so much and are more rigorous and complicated, no curriculum can test prep students.
The testing is one of many tools to evaluate whether or not your teaching methods are successful.
And if you're not testing well?
You probably need to rethink how you're teaching the kids those individual concepts.
Kids from poor families can jump to a voucher school if they attend a C, D, or F public school, or if they're entering kindergarten. We found many instances of students moving to a school, though, with a worse grade. Voucher school grades are based only on the scholarship students' scores. In 2017, state records show 7 kids left KIPP Believe. After that, New Orleans school received a C grade. The next school year, all 7 students enrolled at St. Joan of Arc. That year, the school received a D grade.
If you're going to take on a voucher program, the private options must be better.
Even in that C school, having the opportunity to say, if this isn't working for my child, for various reasons, that I should have the opportunity to move them.
But in New Orleans, you can move to another public school.
But most of our public schools are failing public schools, and so
most are in Orleans Parish?
I think, I'm not sure the percentage.
You would say most are F schools?
No, not most are F schools. When I think of failing, I'm thinking of D or and F.
The facts show most New Orleans public schools are not failing. 62% have an A, B, or C, while 38% have a D or F.
Every parent knows what their school is rated, right?
Do they?
Yes.
You think so?
Absolutely. I would think so. And today, yes.
So you think if we went out to these schools and asked parents, they would know what their rate is?
I think that parents will have a good idea, absolutely.
But we visited 5 different voucher school carpool lines and spoke to dozens of parents. Everyone had the same answer.
Do you know what this school is rated by the state?
Not sure. No,
No.
I don't. No, I really don't.
They were rated an F last year by the
Really?
state. Yeah.
I didn't know.
Do you know they were given an F by the state?
No, I didn't know that.
Do you know how to find that information?
No, sir. Honestly, I'm not sure.
But there's more. The grades for voucher schools are only based on the scholarship enrollment, but 25% of the voucher students attend schools that receive no grade. The reason why? In most cases, the state doesn't assign grades to schools that have 10 voucher students or less in a grade. So we have no way of knowing how those kids are doing, no way of holding these schools accountable.
We're setting many school kids up for failure long term.
Andre Perry lived in New Orleans for 13 years. He now works at the Brookings Institution, a Washington, D.C. think tank. He focuses on race and education.
The voucher schools have not proven over a significant period of time, and it's not just Louisiana, it's across the country, that they can substantively move black and brown children into a higher academic category.
Voucher proponents cite a yearly survey. They say around 20% of the families in the Louisiana program responded. And of those, 90% gave the program a high mark.
The families are happy. The families think that it's benefiting their children. I don't know how else you can define success.
And some parents praised more than just the school's academics.
She was in a school before and she had behavioral problems. She came here and that got solved.
But as we check the facts,
Lower costs for the taxpayers.
the political rhetoric continued to be off the mark.
We're saving tens of millions of dollars.
Because our facts show the voucher program actually costs state taxpayers more.
We're saving tens of millions of dollars for taxpayers.
Not a savings, but a price tag of nearly $10 million more every year. Another example of the true cost of choice.
State Education Superintendent John White and former Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal declined our requests for an interview. 5 studies over the past 4 years concluded overall students' academic performance didn't improve in voucher schools. In fact, it found being in a voucher program hurt math scores. Now, coming up tomorrow night on Cost of Choice, we focus on a private school where every child enrolled is on a voucher. Every child at the private school is paid for by taxpayers.
You can do the interview with me anytime next week.
Well, they're setting it to maximize profits.
If at the end of the day it comes back that this is all accurate, then they should not be serving our kids.
I didn't hear anything of this.
Even the state has flagged this school. The questions raised by state investigators so significant, dozens of tests were voided. An important turn in our investigation as we continue to look into the cost of choice tomorrow night on Fox 8 News at 10. And to read more about our investigation, go to NOLA.com right now for a new story. You can also read it in tomorrow's Times-Picayune. And you can hear a radio story on WWNO 89.9 FM at 7:33 in the morning and 4:50 tomorrow afternoon.
Well, it was a busy night on the Diamond as the LSU Tigers look to get back in the win column against Louisiana Tech. We'll have highlights from Baton Rouge and Tulane coming up later in sports.
They're flooding in Texas tonight. What's our chance of big rains the rest of the week? We'll look at it right after this.
Breaking news from Kenner, where police are investigating a homicide. According to police, a man was found dead inside an apartment tonight in the 3100 block of Phoenix Avenue. They say he had been shot in the head. We'll bring you more information on this breaking story as we get it.
Now, your Weather Authority forecast from David Bernard.
Big flooding in the Houston area tonight, and the big story the next 7 days is going to be all the rain over eastern Texas and then drifting our direction in Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. We're going to be right on the edge of some significant rains over the next week. The big stuff is just to our west, but this area could shift in our direction. The highest chances for rain still look to be on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but we do have some storm chances beginning tomorrow and also into Thursday, and then maybe a drier trend as we go into early next week. So stormy at times is how I'm still billing it for the Mother's Day weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, with temperatures remaining in the 80s and lows in the 70s. Keep in mind that we could have some heavy rain at times, and it'll become a little bit more clear in the coming days just how stormy it's going to end up being. That's a look at the weather. We'll be back right after this.
Fox 8 Sports is sponsored by Nissan. Innovation that excites.
A busy night for college baseball featured two teams, LSU and Tulane, that are coming off of series losses over the weekend. Tigers lost to Ole Miss at home and tried to bounce back against La Tech tonight, already down 4-0 in the third. Saul Garza on third, but Antoine Duplantis can't get him home. Grounds out to end the attack. The 4-0 Bulldog lead, they would add to it, fighting to get into the NCAA tournament. Parker Bates puts them up 6-0. An easy win for the Bulldogs. 12-1 is your final. As for Tulane, they lost 2 of 3 to UCF over the weekend, faced Nicholls State tonight, tied at 1 in the fourth. David Bedgood single scores Jonathan Artigues, wave up 2-1 at that point. Same score, though, in the 5th inning. Colonels get back in it. Dane Simon leaves the park. It's 2-2, and the Colonels weren't done. In the 7th inning, tied at 3, Adam Tarver, the base knock. Ethan Valdez scores. Colonels go up 4-3. They get the win 5-3. On the lakefront, UNO win 5-4. South Alabama wins up in Hammond 14-4 over Southeastern. And that's sports.
All righty.
Nice.
That is the news. Thanks for watching.
Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. Next newscast, Mr. Bernard.
4:30 in the morning.
In the morning, yes. Thank you.
With the Fox 8 mobile app, you'll never be without Fox 8 News. Sign up at fox8live.com for text and email alerts during breaking news and weather. Sponsored by the Fox 8 Storm Tracker, powered by Nissan.